Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. There's a few other people missing, but I want to honor your time being on time, and they can just jump in when they get here. So my name is Sandy Soltz. I'm the Adult Learning Manager here at Girl Scouts San Diego, and I support the activity consultants in their role of supporting troop leaders so that they can support their girls by getting outside and doing fun stuff. So that's what we're here about today. I think Jennifer and Julie know this, but we have an in-person all-together AC roundtable in the fall, and then in the past we've had local in-person versions around the springtime. We're trying this webinar situation for the first time this year. We'll see how it goes. The one on Wednesday went pretty well, except that I missed seeing everybody's smiling faces. And it's a little harder to collaborate, so I'm going to ask you, especially because we have a small group, to really jump in with questions, comments, concerns, whatever. We'll be able to tackle all of that, and I want your input as much as possible and to make sure that you have everything you need to support your gals. So let's go ahead and get going with our presentation. So for tonight, we're going to cover some local and national transitions, just kind of a heads up on some things that are coming. We're going to review some new outdoor training options. We're going to look at updates on new badge developments. We're going to talk about an encampment lottery review and the encampment lottery itself. We're going to talk real briefly about safety management plan development of a better tool for troop leaders to use. And then there'll be some homework for those who are interested in contributing on that later. We're going to brainstorm about how to encourage troops to get outside. We'll talk about San Francisco trips because that's a hot topic right now. We'll talk about background checks, safety awards, and then we'll have Q&A. Is there anything on your plate right now that it just feels like a burning issue? We must solve this tonight so that I can add that to the agenda. You can
Not yet.
Okay. Hi, Jennifer. You should be. Oh, you're on now. Okay, hang on. Okay, now you're unmuted, so we'll go ahead and keep all three of your mics open, but Julie's having some trouble with her mic. But if it works, Julie, you can speak anytime you want to, and we'll continue that as long as we can kind of handle the noise. If more people jump in, though, I might mute you. Oh, and I see Karina's joining us. So anyway, if it gets real noisy, I'll mute you, and then you can raise your hand, and then I'll unmute you individually so that the noise doesn't get too crazy. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And Karina, I'm going to unmute you. And you can also mute yourself on your end in addition to me unmuting you, okay? So we both have control over your mics in a way. Okay. So any questions about the agenda? All
No.
right. Okay. And hi, Tanya. Looks like you might be needing to enter a PIN, Tanya, to get into the audio. And as soon as your mic shows as clear, I'll unmute you. But if that doesn't work or you just don't want to be live, you can ask any questions in the question box, okay? All right. So I wanted to give you some heads up on transitions that are coming around here. There's a new initiative that's happening all around the country for Girl Scouts. It's ours is the Customer Engagement Initiative. Different councils are using slightly different terminology, but the whole idea is pretty awesome for troop leaders especially. The idea is to really simplify things and make it more streamlined to get involved, whether you're a troop leader, a girl, or a parent. And so we're trying to take away as many roadblocks as we can through that. It also does mean that there's going to be some hiccups. There's some questions on who's going to handle what and that kind of thing. And during the transition, some people are doing 2 jobs, and other people, their job hasn't really started yet. So I just want to let you know that as far as activity consultant support, you're going to still be able to come to me for questions and that kind of thing. And just know that you'll want to be prepared with a little patience as we work out the processes that we'll be using in the future. But it's going to be pretty cool. There are some new resources, like a new webpage that's coming out next month. And then I don't know if any of you have heard of the volunteer toolkit that will be coming out in June. We hope, anyway, somewhere during the summer. And it's going to be awesome, especially for new troop leaders. So, like I said, just a heads up on that. Anybody have any questions about that? No. Okay, great. All right, so moving on. Oops. Oop. Skipped. Okay, so I wanted to bring you some updates on outdoor training, because this really does affect what you'll be doing when you're looking at activity approvals and knowing what kind of training people need to have. So there's a new online module that's part of the outdoor training lineup. We used to have Let's Camp, Let's Cook, and Let's Tent. Now we've added basic overnights at the beginning part of that, and that's an online class. It's really pretty short. The actual presentation is about 45 minutes, and then if people want to poke around with the resources that are included in that, it might take them longer, but the content itself is pretty brief. It covers adventure weekends, encampments, and that kind of situation where all the program is provided by an encampment director or council staff, and where the food is provided. So you're really just making sure your girls are ready and taking them to that place and enjoying your time with them. So we hope that this will make it easier for troop leaders to get going. We know it's hard to find the time to go to Let's Camp, and a lot of it seems so advanced for what somebody needs just to go to encampment. So we hope this will be a good option for them. It is a prerequisite for Let's Camp, though, so people will not be able to just jump to Let's Camp, because we don't want to provide redundant information. Okay. After people take the class, they can request credit via a survey response at the end, or they can print a certificate that they can retain and show to you if you'd like to see proof that they took it. We'll be processing credit for classes in weekly batches, and so that's how they'll be added to our the training records that you guys get. And we need to have your feedback on that. So, let us know what the chatter is around town. If somebody has trouble getting online, let them know they can come to us and get technical support to do that. If there's someone who doesn't have a computer in the home, we are setting up stations at our office locations where people can come in and take the training there. We want to do whatever it takes to help people get this going. If someone speaks Spanish only, we'll help them with translating the content. Okay? And you can find the link to the Basic Overnights module at our sdgirlscouts.org/outdoor training webpage. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay.
No.
All right. Good deal. I'm just looking at the little question bar. If you see me silent, it means I'm probably reading something. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. So then Let's Camp, because we added basic overnights in there, Let's Camp gets to be shorter. So it's now 2.5 hours rather than 3.5 hours. It is still an in-person delivery of the content. There's some hands-on activities and things like that, but it's very much streamlined. The focus now for that one, because we've taken encampment and adventure weekends out of the equation, it's on independent troop cabin camping. So if a troop wants to, say, come to Balboa and rent one of the cabins for a weekend camp out, then this is what they'll need for that, okay? Also, any cabins that are similar to ours would be fine too, and there's quite a few of them that are talked about in the Let's Camp program, so they'll get ideas on where to go as well. And we are honoring old versions on pretty much a permanent basis. You don't have to tell people, you know, oh, you took Let's Camp 3 years ago, you got to go back now and take basic overnights and Let's Camp again. That's not necessarily. They can continue to use their previous Let's Camp training. Although I will mention that sometimes people took like Outdoor A or Explore Out. Have you guys ever heard of those? Those are the ones
No.
I took. That tells you how old I am for those of you who haven't met me. Those were the previous versions of this kind of basic camping class. Technically we honor those as well, but usually if somebody's on their second generation of kids or it's been quite a while since they actively use that kind of thing, we ask that they go ahead and refresh their training with whatever's new so that they've got the latest and greatest on procedures and that kind of thing. It just makes things easier. All right, so next on the lineup of our outdoor training series is Let's Cook and then Let's Tent. And I wanted to share with you the next step on those. Our plan is to trim those down as well, and we'll be looking at taking what is necessary to do outdoor cooking with your girls and separating that from what's nice to have, and trying to shorten that because as you probably know, Let's Cook is a 3-hour evening class and then all day long on a Saturday, and that can be, and they have to be paired. You have to go to the paired dates. So that can be really hard for people to schedule. I'm sure you've heard about it. I'm sure they've told you what they think. They sure tell me. So we're trying to make it so that it's easier to approach for busy people. So we're not sure exactly what shape that's going to take, but that's what we're working on. We actually have a trainers retreat coming up this weekend, and we're going to tackle it then, and then we're going to have a task group session on Thursday, March 26th here at Balboa from 6 to 8, and I encourage any of you to attend that if you have ideas on how we can make it shorter, more fun, more relevant, more timely, whatever. I want to hear from you. You could invite anybody else who has a positive outlook and pro-outdoor and that kind of thing. The more the merrier for that. Maybe not send that out in like your whole service unit e-blast though. I don't know if we can handle that kind of quantity of people, but if you know somebody who's passionate about it, feel free to share this info with them. And we're hoping to have those revisions done by June so that we can relaunch an entire outdoor series that's streamlined and relevant for people. All right, any questions about those things?
No.
Okay, you guys are making it easy on me. I can live with that. Okay, thanks, Julie. You're so good about answering. Appreciate it. So Julie's mic's not working, but she's typing in her responses into the question thing, which I really appreciate, knowing that you're there and with us. Okay. The last possibility for the outdoor training lineup that I want you to know about is the Outdoor Challenge, also known as a test out option. Well-qualified volunteers who have taken Let's Camp can request the opportunity to test out of either Let's Cook or Let's Tent or both. Okay, and the way that it works is at this point they contact us and we do a little bit of pre-screening just to make sure they know what they're getting into, and then we send them a packet, which is, it's an investment of time. It's not as long as the classes are, but it'll take some time for them to fill out. And then if they do real well on the written test, then we set them up with a trainer for a one-on-one skills demonstration. And they test just some basic outdoor skills that are covered in Let's Cook and Tent to make sure that they know not just the written stuff, but how to teach. You know, it's not just can you light a match, but can you teach a girl how to light a match? So this is a really good option for people who maybe came from another council. They came from like the military and, you know, some council overseas even. We might be able to help them transition the training that they had there, what we use here. We do want to make sure everybody's on the same page, but that's another thing that happens at that one-on-one skills demonstration with the trainer is that the trainer can fill in any holes and say, oh, well, this is how we do it in this council, and make sure that they're up to date. Another good candidate might be a Boy Scout leader who has done a lot of camping with youth, or campfire boys and girls, somebody who does the same sort of stuff, but they need to know how to do it here. We don't have to make them sit through an entire huge set of classes to do that. We can work with them more individually. Hang on just a second. I'm checking my questions. Okay, don't see anything. Okay. The one thing I would tell you is as you share this information with people in your service unit, make sure they know they really do need to be pretty good either at facilitating or youth camping. Just being a family camper, oh, we camp at least once a year or something like that, that may not be enough. So I don't want to set people up for too much disappointment, okay? Any questions on that one?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Thanks. Okay, we'll move on then. All right, so Gabby Coburn was able to come to our Monday webinar, but not to this one. But I have some notes from her that I think will be of interest to you. Oh, when is the next challenge? Nandita, they're scheduled individually. So when somebody turns in their packet, then we review it, and then we set up a one-on-one with the trainer at a mutually convenient time. It's possible that in the future we'll have set dates for them, but at this time we don't have the volume to really make that work. So we're just setting them up one by one. Okay, so I don't know if you've seen the, oh, you're welcome, Nandita. I don't know if you've seen the new stuff about the outdoor badges. Those of you who noticed that when the Girls Guide came out, and didn't have as many outdoor badges as there used to be, you'll be glad to know about this. And what I really love about it is that GSUSA engaged the girls in deciding what they would offer. It's a renewed focus on the outdoors, which people are really seeing how important that is. If you went to the Roundtable in the fall, we talked about the More Than S'mores report. If you have not seen that, please check it out. You can Google it, Girl Scouts More Than S'mores, or just write to me and I'll send you a link to it. But it's really pretty impressive, the impact that outdoor activities in Girl Scouting makes on how long they stay in and the quality of the experience they have. So everyone's really excited that GSUSA heard that and is taking action on it. So, pardon?
My girls enjoyed voting on that, and so I'm also a troop co-leader, and I have like 8 or 10 of them that's voted on the design of the badge.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I think it's, they feel really powerful when they get to be heard like that. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, so they told us about it in our troop meeting today. They were so excited, saying, we are helping choose a new badge design.
That's wonderful, really wonderful. They got to vote first on the general theme, which the one was outdoor recreation, but the other choices were outdoor environment and outdoor survival. And then among the outdoor recreation choices, they picked outdoor explorer over outdoor challenge and on and in the water, which was a personal disappointment for me because I wanted on and in the water, but I will have to live with that because the girls chose. And then now the Outdoor Explorer badges that are coming out are for the Brownies. It's the Outdoor Adventurer, which is kind of a sampler, which is nice. Juniors get horseback riding, which I know they love. It's one of our most popular outdoor activities. Cadets chose archery nationwide. I know that you probably know that there's an archery badge here in San Diego, but that's local. The rest of the country doesn't get to have it. So I'm pleased that the whole rest of the country will get to have archery in a more approachable format. Seniors have paddling, which is canoeing, kayaking, and paddleboarding, which I do get some satisfaction out of that. I'm happy I'll get to enjoy some of that. Not that it's all about me or anything. And then ambassadors chose the Ultimate Recreation Challenge, which is a summit type of sampler. So pretty adventurous stuff for them. And you know what else is really cool is that at the national convention, they laid out the options for Brownie through senior, and they originally were not going to have an outdoor badge for the ambassadors. And those ambassadors that were at the convention said, and they basically took action and forced the this badge into the system. So I'm really proud of them all. All right. Oh, I guess I didn't fix all the fonts on this one. For some reason, my fonts disappeared at like 6 o'clock. So how to get the badges into your hands and the hands of your service unit troops. There will be digital downloads of the packets in the summertime, and we'll be able to get our hands on the actual badges in August. So that's going to be an exciting thing. Some things to keep in mind. 60,000 girls were participants in developing these badges, so really spread the word about that. You know, that powerful feeling that you experienced with your girls was happening all across the country, so that's really cool. And then the other thing that you want to tell your troop leaders, because I think this message sometimes gets lost in the shuffle of all the different things you have to choose from. You don't have to have a badge to do something. You know, you can do almost anything, most anything. And so let them know that, you know, if the thing that they would have voted for didn't get picked, that doesn't mean they can't do it. They can. Anything that has safety activity checkpoints for is approachable in some way, and even some things that there aren't safety activity checkpoints for might be doable. They just haven't been written yet, like the stand-up paddleboarding that took so long to get going, or I'm trying to think of what else there is. There's some other ones being considered right now by GSUSA. But just call me if a troop, or have the troop leader call me and say, hey, what about this? And I can tell them whether it's on the never list or whether it might be something that they could approach, and I'd help them do that. Okie dokie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You know what, Nandita has asked, can we get a copy of the PowerPoint? And I don't know whether we'll have a copy of the PowerPoint because it's such a big file, it's hard to send out to everybody, but I do at the end of all the roundtables send notes to all the ACs. So you'll have this information somehow. Yeah. Great question.
Can I request the link for the More Than S'mores?
Yes. Why don't I just put that in the notes too?
Okay.
Yeah.
On the top right corner of my screen, you could take a little picture.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, the image.
That's a good point. Yeah, good idea. Take a little screenshot. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about the encampment lottery for Sunday in a little bit, but I wanted to give you this info from Gabby as well, and that's about the encampment process. She's looking for feedback from activity consultants, trainers, some troop leaders. She's looking for a mix of people, some people who are brand new, don't know really much about Girl Scouts or camping at all, and then some rock star experts, and then some people in between. She's going to have 2 meetings in the next couple of months, and then a follow-up meeting in the fall, so that, you know, we can really look at, well, is it smart for us to use EPC, the Escondido Program Center, as an encampment location, or should we take it off of the rotation? How do we like the lottery process? Is there a way that you'd prefer we do it? Is there a different way that you think encampment directors should be supported? And all the things that go along with reserving the property deposits, blah, 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 or anything else that's like a pain point for you or encampment directors or troop leaders. If you can't volunteer for the team, she would love to have your feedback via email. You know, just say, I hate this or something, and she'll get it. Okay? So her email there is down at the bottom, gcoburn@sdgirlscouts.org. All right. So speaking of encampment, we've got our lottery on Sunday. So I want to just check in with you and make sure you're feeling ready for that. Oh, Julie, let's see. You got your hand up. Okay, what's up? Julie, how can I help? Okay, well, we'll come back and check on Julie in a minute. All right. You should have gotten a packet in the mail for the encampment lottery. Did everyone get one?
Yeah.
No, but I'm new to the position.
Okay. And this is Leanne, right?
Yes.
Okay, I can't always tell who's speaking. So, yeah, you should get it. I would think you'd get it soon, or was somebody handling it for you? I think that was
I
the
don't
case,
know
right?
if Melissa has it or if Emily Jones has it, but Emily and I are at the same school. I can talk about it with her tomorrow.
Okay. All right, check in with her. For anybody who it's your first time, know that you really, really, really want to be there on time, because basically at 2 o'clock, the doors metaphorically close. If you arrive after 2 o'clock, you don't get in that initial drawing for the dates, okay? So plan on being there a little bit early so that you can, deal with any traffic or anything like that that might come up at the last second, okay? You can either go to the Balboa campus or to North Coastal, the Carlsbad location, and I'll be there at North Coastal. Gabby will be here at Balboa. It's done by phone so that it's all happening for all service units at the same time. So you don't have to think about which one is more advantageous to be at. It doesn't matter. Everybody who's there at 2 o'clock, their service unit names go into a hat, and then they're drawn out and then noted who is first, second, third, and so forth. The service unit that got the last draw last year, the very last pick, they get to go first this year. But other than that, it's by order of the drawing, okay? So, because you don't have any idea whether you're going to be picked first or last, you want to rank the date choices for your property. Rank all of them from 1 to 22 or however many there are, with the best choice for your service unit to the least, okay? Then that way, as dates are chosen, you can cross those off and know, oh, I'm not going to get my first choice, but maybe you'll get second, and so on. I got last choice when I was AC 2 or 3 years in a row. That was before we started letting the last person go first the following year. So it doesn't happen very often, but you really want to be ready for it, okay? It's late. The lottery is on Sunday, but if possible, if you haven't done this already, get the input of your service unit team as far as what dates are best. You want to avoid Mother's Day, Easter, first day of cookie sales, first day of site sales, things like that. That can be hard to do, to know. We don't have the exact dates, but that's what they're going to be considering. So, and you can kind of guess about which dates those are going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then bring a $25 deposit check from the service unit so that when you get your date, you fill out the form right then, and we attach the check, and then we take it back to council for processing. It takes a little while to do that. There's a lot more information in your encampment lottery packet, but these are the things that can make or break it for you. So I want to make sure you got all that. Does it all sound good?
Yes.
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 Okay. All right. Okay. So I thought we'd throw it out to you guys and see if you have any tips for each other on surviving the lottery. And
Oh, I've never been in one.
That's okay. So then you just want to listen and see if anybody else has a good tip for you. If you type it in, I'll read it out for you. Anybody, Julie or anybody else who's having trouble with their mic.
Is it anything like Cookie Booth Lottery?
Well, different areas do their cookie lottery differently. So I don't know about yours. I don't know them well enough to know whether yours compares. But what happens is all the dates, like all the rotation dates that you see on your forms, it's like a grid of, all the Wanaka dates, all the Whispering Oaks dates, all the Balboa dates, and all the EPC dates. They're in a long chain. And so those get posted on the wall of each of the 2 locations where we're having the lottery. And then as we go through the list of service unit names in that order that they were drawn, then people just say, okay, we have Wanaka this year and we want April 12th through 14th. And then we write in that that's the service unit that got it, and then that's not available for anybody else to claim.
And we rotate through camps, right?
Yeah,
So like if we were
exactly.
at Wanaka one year, we're at a different camp the following year.
You got it. Yep.
Okay.
Nandita has a suggestion. Get there on time and have your list ready ahead of time. Yeah, that's the 2 biggest things for sure.
Those are written in bold right now.
Yeah, good. Anybody else have a suggestion? One thing that comes up a lot is whether they, whether people even want to take their Escondido Program Center site, if that's their rotation. And I encourage you to think outside the box on that. The location isn't big enough for a very large service unit to have everybody there together, but you could do it as like a Brownie Junior encampment or just older girls sleepover kind of thing. Do some cool stuff with them. Or you could have...
And this is the Escondido one?
Yeah, the Escondido one, yeah. Or you could have like brownies on Friday night and juniors on Saturday night or something. So people do get really creative, and I'm not sure that other service units always hear about that. So just to share that, you can kind of do whatever you want with it. It doesn't have to be your entire service unit's encampment there. You might go to another location like Indian Hills or Camp Marston or something, so that everybody could be together. Oh, when do the other dates open, Julie's asking. Great question. April 1st. So all the dates that don't get claimed get opened on April 1st, and there are instructions about how to claim those in the packet, but that is an important date to make note of. Thanks, Julie. And how many rounds will there be? Nandita's asking. Just 1 round. So we just go through all the names in order, and then people claim their dates. So we don't keep going back through. You can't claim a second encampment at the lottery, just a first one. If you do want to have a second one, then you can claim a date. First come, first serve, April 1st.
So does it work the same way booth sales worked, where if you want to cancel it and you can maybe snag one that's sooner or at a more appropriate date?
In theory, but usually service units don't let them go.
Okay.
Or if they do, sometimes it's because it turned out not to be a very great date and it might not be when you want. But sometimes they do open up. They do, but it's not as fluid as the site sales for sure.
Right. Okay.
There just aren't as many dates.
Okay.
That's a good question. Okay, any other questions? Thoughts, worries? Make you nervous at all?
I'm having a little bit of anxiety, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, call and we'll talk it through if you get nervous right before, and then remember that there's staff there to help you when you get there too. So, if you're feeling real nervous, show up 15 minutes before, and as we're hanging papers on the wall, you can ask us whatever you want. And then your service unit. Okay, good. And then your service unit team will have great advice for you too.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the safety management plan. Let me share a document with you just for a moment. I've been thinking about how can we make the safety management plan a little bit easier to handle. I think it's actually a good tool, at least for me. It was nice to be able to think things through and sort of not forget stuff, kind of like the activity approval form does, but in more detail. And there are times where it's really necessary for people to do this, especially at the very beginning. They don't always have to submit it to you, but you can ask for it if you feel like they need some extra help thinking through the safety stuff. But it's a good thing to have, but I don't want to make it be so scary. So I started by writing in red things that are definitely things that need to be changed or added, like see basic overnights there needs to be added to this lineup. But then the things that are in green, these usually come along with the activity approval form. So do we really need to make people sign and do them twice? So the green things are potentially redundant things, and the red things are thoughts about what we might want to add. So what I'm going to do is when we send you the notes after all 3 roundtables are done, I'll send this along as a PDF probably so it doesn't get all jumbled. And then I'd love to hear your input on it. Like how many of them are you getting? And, do you even use it yourself? Would you use it if it were arranged differently? Would you like it to be fillable, or should we make it into a Google Doc, or any kinds of suggestions like that? I know it's hard for us to collaborate on it right here, but there's just things that could be better about it, and I'd love to have your input on it. So that's that. All right. And then I would like to invite you to brainstorm about how you either have had success getting girls outside in your service unit. What have you done to incentivize leaders to get out there, or to give them ideas, or, just encouragement. Whatever you might have done in your service unit, I'd like you to share with each other, because I think this is something that everybody struggles with. And this is one of the high things on the little survey that I took before the roundtable started. And it's a perpetual problem that girls want to get outside and leaders don't always take them. So if you've had success, or you have an idea maybe that you haven't put into place, please tell. Okay, so Julie has one already. Good job, Julie. It says, with Water Badge for Brownies, they did a beach cleaning. Good. Awesome. And, when it's combined with service, I think that that's like, I don't know, double stuffed Oreo. It's extra.
I don't know about my entire service unit, but my troop has gotten into the geocaching.
Yes.
We call it treasure hunting.
Cool, cool. That's a great way to describe it for them. So maybe what you could do, if you're up for it, is as one of your little mini trainings that we love for ACs to do at service unit meetings, is maybe you would show them. You could check out the GPSs from the resource center, and you could let people find a little box in the place where you meet or something like that, if there's time for that. That would make it really fun, and they'd feel a little bit more confident about getting out there and doing it themselves.
That would be awesome.
Nandita said, yes, we love geocaching too. Yeah, so do I. Sometimes I do it on my lunch hour. And then she also said my girls liked earning the badges. So maybe you could highlight the outdoor badges that we just learned about that are coming, or other outdoor badges that are in the list. Yeah. What other ideas do you have?
Hiking. We do that a lot.
Yeah. Maybe you could print out, I'm trying to think where the resource is, but do you know that sheet that talks about the different kinds of hikes you can do, like a color hike or a penny hike and stuff like that?
Oh, no.
Let me see if I can find that. Scribbling this down. Yeah, so it's like you can take a penny hike, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can use the penny to flip, and then if it's heads, you go left at the next junction, and tails, you go right. And you just, yeah, it's just kind of fun. And then another thing you can do is have the girls each carry a penny in their hand, and then they look for things that are tiny enough to fit on the penny.
Oh, okay.
So that's something that you could show troop leaders at a service unit meeting. And there's a bunch of other things like that. Julie has an idea for a breakfast finding hike. Yeah, like a monkey breakfast. Yes. They love that. Anything that there's food.
Our girls love the monkey breakfast. We do it every encampment now.
That's awesome. Would you describe it for us?
It's where we get a simple breakfast. It's normally our last morning of encampment. You know, fruit, a cereal packet, a little thing of milk, maybe a Go-Gurt maybe, and we wake up early in the morning, and we will hide the bags of breakfast around the campfire area and with numbers on it, and we give each girl a number, and they have to hunt for their breakfast.
Right. Awesome. That's a great description. That's one of the things that you learn in Let's Tent right now. Yeah, it's a fun thing to do. And you could combine that with geocaching, and Nandita points out that geocaching can be combined with hiking. So you can, you know, combine all sorts of different things together.
There's a bunch. There's a trolley one too, so you can get a patch for riding the trolley and hitting the geos that are along the trolley line.
Cool. I love that. I'm going to make a little note about that. Okay. All right. And then don't forget to, in your activity consultant resource guide, Leanne, have you gotten that yet? Did that come in the mail?
Not yet. I just sent my address out. I just walked into this position this week.
Yeah. So in the back of your AC resource guide, there's some little talking points, topics on page 18. And so there's some ideas there that you can use. You know, it's got 3 or 4 different options for every month. You don't have to do them all. It's just to give you choices, but probably one is great because it's really nice if once a month, you know, at your service unit meetings, you just take 5 minutes to give a little bit of info, a little encouragement to the troop leaders. And the bonus thing for you is that then they know that you're a coach and you're approachable rather than, you know, like the Girl Scout police or somebody that they're worried about because they got to get approval from you. You know, that can make you very intimidating. So building that relationship and having them see you as a resource is just much more positive, much more fun for you too.
Some of their Girl Scouts are taller than me. I'm not that intimidating.
All right, well, we'll move on to the next thing, and that's San Francisco trips. How many of you have somebody asking for approval on a San Francisco trip right now or recently?
No.
No.
Wow. I've been getting a ton of them through here. Well, let me just go through it a little bit with you because you'll probably have some next year, or you might even still have some this year. They go in May, generally, if they do the big bridging. So let me describe that to you. There is a huge event hosted by the NorCal Council for girls who are bridging from, oh, Nandita has one, okay. For girls who are bridging from juniors to cadets. And so it's really just a one-day event, but of course because we're coming from out of town, you know, our girls go for the weekend. And for most girls that age, most troops that level, that's a pretty advanced trip. As far as big travel goes, it's not a very big trip, but sometimes they're pushing their progression. You know, they're not as ready as, you know, most big travel happens when they're cadets, seniors, or ambassadors. So they're kind of at the beginning of that stage. So sometimes they need a little extra help getting through the process, the paperwork, and that kind of thing. There is a resource for this. It's in your activity consultant resource guide. It's called the Let's Go booklet, but you can tell leaders where it is by sending them to sdgirlscouts.org/travel, and they can just download it. The biggest section that causes problems for them on the activity approval form it actually causes problems for people no matter what activity they're doing, but especially with travel, they seem to have a harder time identifying what risks might exist in travel. And so you might need to do a little extra coaching on that to help them understand that anything that can happen anywhere could happen there. Not to freak them out or anything, but have them think of 3 things that could go wrong, 3 things that they could use to reduce those risks, and then 3 things that they would do to respond to those risks if they had happened anyway. We're getting some feedback on the mic here, so I'm gonna. If there's somebody around you in your house, if you could mute until you speak, that might help with that. Oh, that's better. Whoever that was, thank you very much. Okay, good. All right. When you're looking at their activity approval form, you're going to look through the itinerary and transportation plans just to kind of make sure things that make sense. Mostly people follow a pretty set pattern, and it's not very hard. But sometimes they're really ambitious about all the things they want to do. They're gonna fly in on Friday night, and then Saturday they're gonna go to Alcatraz and walk across the bridge, and they're gonna go to Chinatown, and they're gonna walk to Presidio Park. And you might know the area enough to know that that's a lot, an awful lot. Yeah. If you don't know, that's okay. You're not responsible for becoming a travel agent for San Francisco, but there's Julie says she thinks that you did that. Does that mean that you guys did all those things? Anyway, so you're looking for does it seem reasonable? And if there's any planned activities that have safety activity checkpoints associated with them, make sure that they're following those. Sometimes they'll think about travel being all that they're really thinking about, but they'll forget that they've got to follow the safety activity checkpoints if they're going to do a little bike rental or something like that, or they're going to swim in the hotel pool or that kind of thing. So Julie says she bridged last year and fit all that in one day, but we were exhausted. And Nandita says the council up there has a plan that the troop from my service unit is using. Yeah, they've come to realize a lot of people come from down here. We've kind of taken it over a little bit, I think. So that's good that
San Francisco, and that's a lot to do. I didn't even do that in one day.
Yeah. Another thing that kind of happens with this is sometimes they have to squeeze in their progression. Sometimes, like I said, they're not entirely ready to go. And so if they don't have some outdoor time together, they haven't done, quite a few field trips, you need to try to get them to squeeze it in. And if you're not sure what's appropriate progression, call me or email me, and we'll talk it through and see what we can do to help them get going. Because the reality is they're probably going to go even if you don't approve it. So let's see if we can get them as prepared as they can. Background checks are another thing that can kind of throw them off. We need anybody who's traveling with the girls to have a background check and be a Girl Scout member. And this tends to be a trip that turns into a bit of a mommy and me thing, even though the number of adults who can actually cross the bridge is limited most years. There will be extra people going. So you might want to give the leader a reminder about that. We're going to talk about background checks a little bit more in a minute. They also need to obtain additional insurance. That's the insurance for extended events. So a reminder about that is in order, and they can get information on that at sdgirlscouts.org/insurance. So remember, it's that insurance for extended events. And it's really important because the regular insurance that you get through your membership does not apply when you go outside of our territory or for long periods of time. And then finally, about support. So I know that you guys don't get called on to approve big travel very often, and it can feel kind of scary. There might be questions that you have and you want to run through them, and that's what I'm here for. So just want to invite you to partner up with me if you feel like you need it, okay?
The San Francisco trip is in May, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes troops do it on their own. They don't want to do the big, huge thing. So you might see them with slightly different dates, but same,
Okay.
kind of the same pattern.
Now, can a girl who, like for example, I have a girl in a troop in my service unit. She's a second year. She'll be bridging to cadet this year, but her troop, she was the only junior at the time, and now there's 5 or 6 bridging juniors this year, and it's not their troop knows they're not even trying to go this year. Would they be able to walk like next year to make up for this year, or no? Is that not?
That would be up to the NorCal Council, and
Okay.
I have to tell you, I kind of doubt they would, but I don't know for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
So they could contact them. But you could, not encouraged by NorCal, Julie says. Yeah,
Okay.
that's my impression. I mean, they don't try to be mean or anything, but it's such a big event already that I'm sure that if they made a lot of exceptions, it would get to be a problem. But they can do it on their own, and sometimes that's better anyway. It's, it might be easier to get into the hostel, just not all the crowds. That's what my girls wanted to do. They didn't want to do the big thing. They wanted to do it on their own, so that's what we did. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts on that?
Nope.
Okay. So we'll move on to those background checks. So something that is new is the process for getting background checks. It's a little bit smoother. So you can go to stgirlscouts.org/volunteer, and it's real clear what you're supposed to do next. So anybody who is doing an overnight with the girls needs to have that. It's really supposed to be any volunteer for Girl Scouts now. It's a little bit different, a little more wide-ranging than it used to be. If you're not sure about who has to have it or that kind of thing, you can go to that same page and it describes things. It's a more robust check than it was in the past. They check for more things, which is great. There is a cost associated with it. There actually always was a cost, but it used to be that Girl Scouts, Girl Scouts San Diego anyway, covered the cost of it. And the costs have gone up. We don't have our choice of all the vendors that we used to have, and I think it's $9.25 now. Is that right, Karina? Does that sound right? $9.25, $9.40, something like that. Anyway, yeah, Nandita says yes. Okay. So, but people are invited to pay for that if they don't mind, but if they don't have the funds, they can ask for help on that. They shouldn't be shy about doing that. We want everybody to have the appropriate background check. But, like if it were me, I'd be like, $9.25, I can handle that. So we did include it in the process now. Something that you need to know about is the result reporting. It can take a few weeks to get the report back, and it can only go to the volunteer who's being checked. So the troop leader will not get an email saying that Mrs. Smith from their troop passed her background check. The only way that she'll know that Mrs. Smith passed is that Mrs. Smith can forward the email that she receives to the troop leader, or she could print it out. Okay, but for privacy reasons, we can't share that with the troop leader or with you or with the service unit manager, anybody like that. Okay, and Karina just confirmed, yes, it is about $9.25 for the background check. Yeah. So, any questions about that? There is an FAQ page as well that you can link from that link that I have on the screen as well. So if you think of a question later, Nandita has. So you did a background check, Nandita, and yes, okay. Thank you. Even if the adult is not going with the Girl Scouts. Oh, I see. Okay, so you. Let me make sure I'm understanding. So you're wondering if they need a background check if they're not going. And that would be no, they don't, if I'm understanding the question. Okay. And then Julie asks, do we need to ask for it as leaders. So yes, if you have people driving your girls, if they're helping the troop at meetings or overnights or that kind of thing, yeah, you'll need to ask your troop members to do the background check if they haven't done so recently. The background check is good for 4 years for most situations, but 2 years if they're the treasurer or the cookie or nut parent because they're handling money, and then every year for camp volunteers at day camp. Not people who go on encampments. 4 years is enough for that. But because of the American Camp Association accreditation guidelines, people who help at day camp need to be checked every year. Okay, so Nandita, I'm not sure I'm understanding the whole question altogether. If you wouldn't mind either coming onto the mic or typing it all together. Oh, okay, I answered it. All right, good. Thank you. It's kind of hard when the little questions are broken up. All right. Any other questions? Okay, great. All right. So I wanted to point out something that you also might want to talk about at a service unit meeting, and those are the safety awards. There's an award for every program level, and they're pretty easy to approach, pretty simple requirements. The Older Girl Awards include some kind of teaching or sharing, which is always nice. I think that I was trying to remember what the requirements were for the old safety award years ago, and I don't feel like they featured social or emotional safety, but these do, so that's nice. Like one of them talks about bullying and that kind of thing. Yeah, they're pretty cool. And I really think that there's a lot of girls that could use this as a jumping off point for take action type projects, whether it's an actual like awards take action or just understanding the concept of I've identified a root cause of a problem and I think I have a solution, which is so powerful. So you might want to talk this up a little bit. That actually is what led my daughter to her gold award, was starting off with safety, and she's actually turned it into a mini career. So you just never know where these things will end up. Let's see. Julie has a question. As ACs, do we trust the leaders for the encampment, or do we trust the leaders? Okay, so I believe you're talking about the background checks. Yeah. Okay. So the leaders. You do need to have the email from. Well, boy, that's a great question. You know what? I don't think anybody's asked it quite like that, Julie. Because we used to be able to share who was screened. And now that we can't, well, they couldn't hold the position. They couldn't hold the position if they didn't have the background check. So if they're listed as an O1 or an O2, they've got the background check. So the question is, as a C, if a troop is coming to encampment or whatever, do we trust that the leader is background checked? And so, yeah, if they have the position, they do have to have the background check. That was a roundabout way of answering my own question, I think. Karina, do you have any input on that?
It makes sense to me.
Okay. And so now Julie's asking, do we trust the volunteers they are bringing as well? And yeah, I think that we do, because I don't think it would be possible or reasonable to collect everybody's copy. You know, as encampment director, can you imagine having to verify every single one? I think you need to just let that be in the leader's purview, and just remind them, you know, all of your volunteers need to be background checked. Okay, Karina says, yes, that's correct. They will not have the O1 or 2 status if they were not background checked. So, yeah, good.
What are the bronze, silver, and gold badges?
Oh, good question. So those are the highest awards. The bronze is for juniors, The silver is for cadets, and the gold is for seniors and ambassadors. And the gold could be considered equivalent to Eagle Scout and Boy Scouts. It's that kind of high-level award. You'll learn about that a little bit. Have you been to Intro to Girl Scouts yet?
I don't know.
I'm okay. We'll figure that out to make sure that you've got the training that you need. It's already on my list of things to go over with you. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure it's covered in Intro to Girl Scouts, but very lightly. It's usually covered in when you get to that level. So when you get to junior level and you go to that training, then you learn about the Bronze Award, and then the same thing as you go along. And then there's also specific classes that you can go to for those. And a lot of times those are nice to invite parents who are not troop leaders and haven't been through the regular classes. They can go to the Bronze, Silver, and Gold Award trainings. And the girls come to the Gold Award trainings as well. They all take an element of, like I was describing in the Safety Award, I mean, this is not part of the Safety Award, but what I was talking about, where a jumping off point is that the girls need to identify a root cause of something that they think should be improved, and then they figure out how to work with their community to make a sustainable change that addresses that. And that sounds really wordy and hard to deal with, but it's not as hard as it sounds. There are standards, but there's a way to go through it, and it's progressive, just like everything else we do, baby steps, baby steps. So, all right. Those of you who've been with me for a while know that I love the Mythbusters, so I would have to have those. So I'm going to throw this out to you one at a time. Okay, so true or false? Do you need troop tripping to cross a county border for an overnight? You can raise your hand, blurt it out, or type it in.
No.
Okay, good. That's right. You don't need it for that. You do need it for advanced travel, which would be getting on an airplane, crossing a state line, or having something that's more than 3 nights long. Okay. And then, so how about for a day trip? I guess that answers it for you.
False?
False, yeah. You don't need troop tripping for that. Really not for it. It would be pretty rare if you saw a day trip that included air travel or crossing the state line. So no, unless you live in Imperial Valley and the state line is really close by. And then in that case, we waive it for them, because that's just mean to make them come to a 3-hour class so that they can go to Yuma. All right, next one. True or false? On a troop's first tent campout, it's best to have 1 adult in each tent.
True.
Anybody have a different answer? It's actually false.
Oh.
Okay, so actually, this might be surprising to many of you. You're actually not allowed to have 1 adult in each tent. So you're not allowed to have 1 adult in any enclosed space. So it's, yeah. So whether it's a hotel room, this comes up all the time with the troop travel. Yeah, so Nandita's got the right answer. You have to have 2. So it's not necessary to have an adult in every tent or every hotel room or what have you. And Julie's got it too. But if you're going to have 1, you got to have another one, and they need to be unrelated. So, yeah, it's one of those sort of obscure things, but it is pretty important to know. And you might see this as you think about the planning that would go into, say, the San Francisco trip. You know, you see that there's, wow, they've rented 4 hotel rooms, and there's 4 adults going, and, 11 girls or something like that. And you might want to ask, do you know that you don't want to put the, 1 adult in each room? Because you'd think that would make sense to be able to keep an eye on them and make them feel safe and stuff like that. But you could have trouble with, an accusation about something, or that's something actually happening, or just a misunderstanding, you know. So a leader does need to protect herself on that. And if they're not old enough to be in the tent or the hotel room or what have you alone, what does that tell you? Maybe they're not ready for this. So just something to think about. Keep in the back of your brain for when it comes up. And then Julie asks, what if there are adjoining rooms? So you can think of an adjoining room as just one big room. Or 2 adjoining rooms would be just one big room. If you keep the door open, that's fine. Yeah, that's definitely a way to solve that problem, Julie, because it could be a problem to do hotel camp traveling with your girls, because some hotels don't like little girls to be in hotel rooms alone, which I can certainly understand. All right. Any other myths that have come up in your world? Is there anything you've had to debunk in your service unit? No? Okay.
No.
All right. Oh, here we go. So Julie, have people been saying that, or they haven't been giving you copies of their permission slips? Is that what's going on? And so for those of you who don't know, we do ask that, yeah, they don't think they need to. Okay, so we do ask that troop leaders send a sample copy of a permission slip to the AC. Excuse me, I got to get a drink. To the AC. There's a couple reasons that we do this. One is so that you can check and make sure they're not doing something that they shouldn't be doing at that level, or something that actually needs activity approval and is kind of a higher level than they think they're up to. And that happens now and then. You get a permission slip for horseback riding, and they need to jump through a couple more hoops than that. The other reason that we do this is to keep you in touch with them and to build a relationship with them. And then finally, it shows a case for progression, so that when they want to do something like have an overnight or whatever, then you know, oh yeah, they've had 3 field trips this year. They've been working on the buddy system. I mean, you don't have to get into the nitty-gritty. It's an FYI copy of the permission slip. You don't need to give them a hard time about it or anything like that. Yeah, that has been the case, that we've been asking for those for a long time, but there's still people who think they don't have to. Anyway. All right. And then that is it.
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah,
Just one
go
quick
for it.
question.
Okay.
So I get all kinds of, what do you call the permission form, so that's okay, right? I told them they didn't need to send me every permission form, only the ones that go to the activity. So you're saying that we could do that with all the forms then?
There was some interference, and I couldn't hear the whole thing.
Hold on, I think there's a motorcycle outside. Let me mute myself.
Okay. All right. Would you repeat the question?
Sure. So it is like, I get all kinds of permission forms, whether I have they need the activity approval or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, right?
Yeah, that's good. You're supposed to be
Okay.
getting those. Yeah.
Okay. I told them they didn't need to send. But
Oh, no, they do. They do.
Okay, so I'll tell them to send all of them.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you do. If you need a refresher on what needs to be collected, that's in your AC resource guide, or self-study guide, excuse me.
Okay, I'll go back and look.
Yeah. And then, but they don't need to send you one for each girl. They don't need to send you the filled out ones, just the sample one. Yeah. And something that you can do, and I ask my ACs if they want to do this as well, because I am your AC, okay? So there always needs to be a second set of eyes on these kinds of plans. So you send your stuff to me. And then if you want, though, when you're sending your permission slips out to your families, just put me in the distribution list on the email. And you can ask your troops to do that with your name. Then that way you just automatically get a copy. Usually you're getting it in advance, so you have a chance to say, hey, wait a minute, that's horseback riding. You got to have approval for that. You can catch some things. But mostly it makes it painless.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay. What other questions do you guys have?
Just trying to get the leaders to actually send the permission slip.
Yeah, that's a universal problem, or any kind of paperwork, right? I mean,
Exactly.
when I started as AC, I thought I was going to be so busy. Like, I actually gave up some other volunteer responsibilities because I thought I was going to have so much on my plate. And I was like, wow, nobody goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we do, you know, as AC, you want to be busy. So, you know, you can bribe them with candy. Like, if they come to a service unit meeting and they turned in permission slips during the past month, throw them some candy or something. Ask them where they went so they can share that idea with other troop leaders. Maybe inspire them to get out there and do the same thing. Some service units have like a little raffle at the end of the year, or they give out like little service unit bucks or something like that. So if your service unit does something where there's little tickets or points or something like that, make sure that they're getting points for turning in their permission slip. Maybe maybe 1 point for that, 5 points for turning in an activity approval form. You know, a point for sharing an outdoor idea at a service unit meeting, you know, something like that, so that they have more buying power at the end of the year, a little raffle deal that they do or what have you. But also they just get a nice little pat on the back.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anybody use a different format or something like that they'd like to share with the others?
Well, I don't have a problem. My service unit's very good about turning this.
That's good.
Oh,
That's
you're
really
lucky.
good. Yeah.
I just have a problem motivating, you know, we had Escondido last year and nobody stepped up. We have a problem, you know, having the older girl troops stepping up and hosting maybe an encampment or something. Especially the one that I think, you know, that I from council. We have 2 others that are on non-council property. I don't know how to, you know, motivate somebody to step up and do that.
I can hear some typing on the mic, so if you wouldn't mind muting yourself if you're doing some typing, and just unmute yourself to talk again. Something that you might want to think about if you're having trouble getting older girls to step up is, you know, sometimes they're looking for money. I mean, you know, if you haven't done this in your service unit, talk to your team about it before you go promoting it. But, you know, they can use encampments or other events as money-earning projects. So sometimes if those older girls are already pulled in so many different directions and they're saving for a trip or something like that, you know, you can scratch their back while they scratch yours.
Okay. That's a good
And
idea.
then, yeah, and same goes for other kinds of events. You know, the He and Me dance, or, you know, whatever like that. That can be used as a money-earning activity. And as far as running events of that nature, there's a new booklet, the Encampment Director Handbook. So if you'd like one of those for somebody who's considering doing an event, you know, let me know and I can get that to them. It's supposed to be on the website, but I noticed the other day the link was missing, so I'm not sure what happened. We'll get it back up soon, but it is a self-study training, so they actually get credit for doing it, and it does include some help for working with girls, you know, what roles girls can have and what need to be handled by adults and that kind of thing. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anything you want to share? Okay, well, I think we can go ahead and sign off then, but just remember, anytime you need help with anything, I really love to hear from you. I love the safety realm, and I love the outdoors both, so I'd be glad to share any ideas or thoughts or help you solve problems, either for your troop or for anybody in your service unit. If you just feel like you want somebody to double check your work the first time you do something, I'm here for that too. Something that you should know about me is that I'm usually really good about answering my emails pretty quickly. So if you send me something and I don't respond, consider that something went wrong and either resend or give me a call, because I want you to have as close to immediate answers as I can give you. Okay, I won't be ignoring you. But every once in a while something goes into junk or it just gets lost on the way, I don't know where. So, okay.
All right.
All righty.
Can I get your phone number?
Yeah, sure. 619-610-0814.
I have it memorized.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for your time tonight. I know you gave up stuff to be able to be here with each other and with me, and I really appreciate that. So enjoy the rest of the evening.
Okay.
All right. Take good care.
See you on the 22nd, huh?
Yeah. I'll see if you're going to the Carlsbad lottery.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Mhm.